we are, Joe the Pro here at Casa de Lohman.
Wow.
Here in Newport Beach, man. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the house,
dude. This is awesome.
You can stay for dinner, but you can't stay the night. That's the only rules that we have.
Beautiful family, beautiful house. Great to be here. Elo. Thanks for being on the Fascinating Five. I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah.
I gleaned some of this off your bio. You played college golf and was captain for UCLA.
Yeah, one of my pride and joy, my Bruins. Great time in my life.
You trained under Jim Flick, Nicholas Flick Schools.
Mm-hmm.
You played in 2 National Club Professional Championships.
Not well, but I got there.
You're a national brand ambassador athlete for Callaway Golf, Nike Golf, and Travis Matthew.
Well, we have some good friends in the industry, and they take real good care of me. And I've been with Nike, upwards of almost 15 years now, and Callaway for a couple of years, and everybody, Travis, that the whole group takes such good care of me and our facilities, and I can't thank them enough for making me look as good as I can try to be.
That's amazing too. I mean, not a lot of people get more than 1 national brand. He's got 3. So that's pretty impressive. You've been on the SCPGA Board of Directors for the last 6 years and just became the secretary.
I did. I jumped in.
So that puts you, as the president in 2020, December 2022, you'll be the president of the Southern California PGA, and I'm going to ask you a little more about that in a minute. We can't let that one sneak by.
Pretty excited about it.
You won the SCPGA Merchandiser of the Year Award, the Bill Strasbaugh Award, which is a great award, and the 2017 SCPGA Golf Professional of the Year Award, Southern California PGA Golf Pro of the Year. That's a big boy award right there. Congratulations.
I think I'd won most of those awards after you. It's pretty neat. I kind of just follow you in your career. But to be recognized by our peers is pretty neat. I'm pretty fortunate. So.
Absolutely. So my first question to you, Mr. Lohman, how did you get into golf?
Well, I grew up playing golf. I grew up at Spring Valley Lake Golf Club up in Victorville, and Greg Combs was the pro, and I grew up on the 16th hole, and as most kids, when you live on a golf course, it's like a park in your backyard or a playground in our case, and played a lot of sports growing up, but when I was about 8 or 9, I did a camp to learn how to play golf, swim, and play tennis, the three main things at a country club. I happened to be really good at golf, and got good when I was young. And Greg, the folks up at Spring Valley Lake had a really good junior golf program. It was awesome. And so I have a twin brother, and we got into junior golf. We started playing Southern California PGA junior golf, and by the time I was 12 or 13, I jumped into AJGA and kind of just stuck with it.
This is our number 2 question of the Fascinating 5.
There we go.
Who are some of the key people to help you or guide you to where you are today? Where did that leadership ability come from? Because like I was saying just a minute ago, Tuna, Adam Farino, a lot of guys, Sung Kim, a lot of great pros came up from under your stable. So
I still feel like I'm pretty young in the process.
I know,
So
exactly.
I've got a lot of good people that have worked with me, worked for me, I worked for. I think we're going to keep that movement going and that momentum going. But the people that, I've met a lot of really great people that have helped me out. Good and bad are different. I've learned from the good and the bad. And I talked about Orrin Vincent with OB Sports. And
what did Orrin do for you?
Orrin, if you don't know Orrin is a compassionate, team-oriented type of person. He's got a great personality. But Orrin preached you just had to learn a lot, and you had to learn it in different aspects. You didn't, if you wanted to be a head golf professional or a GM for one of his properties, you had to learn a little bit about everything in the business. And Orrin, I think, cut his teeth kind of, working in different fields as well. And so did his son, Odie Vincent, and so did some of their other people that at the time at the company had some success. So I spent a year working for Tom Christie on the maintenance crew at the Reserve Vineyards, and I worked with some great people there. And I think of the time when I was at the Reserve, maybe 4 or 5 of the people I worked with became superintendents at some of the nicest clubs in America. And Tom, kind of break me a little bit. He wanted to break me, kind of like a stallion. He wanted me to quit, though. He didn't want me to ride the pony show and win the awards. He wanted to, kind of end me because he didn't quite understand why is this golf pro working in our business and taking up a slot from one of the guys. So in that process, I jumped in and I did some manual labor. I learned kind of the ropes of being a grunt in the maintenance crew. I worked my way up to some of the more important things like mowing greens and mowing rough and checking the golf course and getting it ready in the morning. And we had the Fred Meyer Challenge that Arnold Palmer and Fred Couples and all those guys played in when I was there. And the day that we had the Fred Meyer Challenge with all I think they might have played 18 holes 2 days. Instead of me having to go out and do the grunt work, he pulled me into his cart and we drove around and just checked the golf course to make sure that it was pristine and perfect. And he pulled me aside and said, you've earned it. You've earned your right to be a part of this group now, and which I thought was amazing. So that's those two things are great stories. And
great story.
C.A. Roberts, who's with OB Sports now. So there's the three-headed monster of OB Sports is C.A. Roberts and Phil Green and Orrin. And I've talked about Orrin. And C.A. kind of has taken me under his wings for sales and marketing and business development. And I've learned a ton from him. His compassion, his poise. He could turn a bad situation into a positive situation just by the way he speaks and the way he talks and the pace the way he talks, and then obviously with Phil Green, who I work for now on a more regular basis because he's in charge of operations. So Phil has taught me just how to sort of grind it out. Grind it out for your staff and grind it out for your client and grind it out for your guests and fill the tee sheet and keep the place busy and make it memorable. These people have invested in me. I'm going to turn around and invest back to them and help out everybody else. But there's a lot of people. You mentioned Jim Flick. He had when I was 22, 23, my brother and I worked with him and this gentleman, Seth Glasgow, and we learned, again, how to teach was one of it, but I've never met a man, and Jim and Seth too, that cared so much about their students, and they cared that their students got value for what they paid for. Jim made sure that no matter who you were, whatever stature you were in life, whether you were the caddy, the outside service guy, the corporate CEO, if you paid $2,000, you were getting paid $10 an hour. He treated everybody the same. He made sure the time was valuable and that you left there feeling like you did something and it was worth it. It was amazing.
Awesome.
And he lived it every single day.
Awesome. Wow. Well, I'll tell you, OB Sports, they're lucky to have you. I know they groomed you this way, but
yeah.
This is one of the most successful golf pros in Southern California I got right here. Most well-liked, gregarious, outgoing. Everybody loves this guy. Southern Cal PGA Golf Pro of the Year. I think you're current, right?
I am current.
You're the current one.
Sean Cox is going to dethrone me in a couple months. I look forward to inviting him into our club, putting the green. Well, I don't know if it's a green jacket, but we'll inaugurate him the right way.
Perfect.
We'll do it the right way.
Yeah, awesome. You're the reigning Golf Pro of the Year
Thank you.
now. So awesome to have you. So. You just became secretary of the SCPGA, therefore in December 2022, you will become the SCPGA president.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff you do, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the next question about that, why become an officer in the SCPGA? What will be your goals these next 8 years, as you said?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I'll be sworn in December. Obviously, Todd Kiefer, the current president, leaves, and then Tony moves up to president. Robin Shelton moves up to vice president. I become the new kid on the block as the secretary. And I think if I'm able to give back, I can do that, and I'd like to do that. And I've always heard why be on the board? I could be the guy who complains and doesn't do anything. I could be the person who makes who says this should be different but doesn't tell anybody why or it should be. So I've always felt like I had that gift of being critical, but in the right way, analytical, but to be productive. And I think I have an ability to help people and guide people in the right direction. That got me onto the board. That got me on the chapter board. Then I got on the section board. And as you move up the food chain, as you know, because you're on the board with me, the responsibility, grows. And as you've taken on more and more causes, that's more and more responsibility. And it's hard because you have to balance, there's got to be a good, proper work balance or work-life balance. And, I got a wonderful family that's supportive, but, just to the point where you got to get home, Dad. The more that I get into it, the more I think that it's the right calling, because I see people like John McNair and Jeff Johnson before us. And I mean, there's a lot of guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there should be some gals eventually that should do this as well. But when I see Todd and John now, the current guys, they're very busy. I mean, they run great clubs or companies. They have great families, and they're finding a way to make it work. And I think it's learning how to have really good time management and do you really care? I used to just sort of do it because I wanted to help out the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the PGA, especially our section. And now I kind of understand the value of our relationship with other sections, our relationship in the scope of the national landscape for golf. And I believe that I can help make a difference for our section, for our associates, and for our members and apprentices and everything. But I'm going to be a catalyst to keep pushing that movement forward, and I can promise you we're going to make a difference.
You are already making a difference on your own. Might as well get on the board and make it happen for the section as well. Speaking of that, you single-handedly resurrected the Southern California Open back in 2013. I was very impressed with that piece of work right there, young man, and amazing feat. And you raise incredible amounts for the Folds of Honor. Mm-hmm. And I know it's near and dear to you.
I got it here somewhere. I got it right here.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does having a military family background play into your life in that regard?
Well, I mean, as you know, my dad, Captain Lohman, he's a captain in the Navy, served 2 tours in Vietnam, and my twin brother and I and our family, my mom and my dad, we grew up with my dad going to like the reserves, and we saw our dad in his uniform, and we'd go to the base with him, and we'd drive, and people would salute him, and people would kind of stand up and give him the respect that he had earned, and as a kid, you don't quite understand what that is, and you start to learn more and more about it, and it opened my eyes to like what my dad gave back, right? He obviously had some positives and negatives about that experience, and then through that, I think it opened my eyes to other this is my dad. What about other people's dads and uncles and friends and family? And as you meet people and you start to hear more and more about their stories, and there's especially the people who have kept our lives as great as it is, and America's safe as it is, and they've helped our allies. And I mean, once you dive into all that, you realize like I got to do what I can do when I can do it. And then with Folds of Honor, those are families whose parents have either been injured or killed in either training or in combat. And when you realize and hear some of the stories from some of those folks, and you realize how lucky you have it, anything we can do to help out those families or those particular soldiers, we should do it. And we got to do it. And we got to keep pushing it and move forward.
How much money do you think you've raised since being on the Orange County Folds?
Well, the Folds of Honor is that our group, which we founded 4 or 5 years ago, is still sort of an infantile stage, but it's well over $250,000. I mean, it's probably $300,000 or $400,000 by now, and the future just looks like it's getting bigger and bigger and better. But Folds of Honor in Southern California, like Chris Gilly at La Quinta Country Club, they put on a great event. It's a $250,000 event. I'm sure that people will see this that have events. We hope other people have events. I mean, I'm just on the board of a group that sort of gets to shake hands and say thank you for whatever happens in Southern California. So, I mean, every time one of these people, we have businesses that open, like Sizzler's been a great partner. When they open a new Sizzler, they donate money to Folds of Honor. There's other businesses that are like that just don't do golf events. We did a comedy thing at the Irvine Improv. We've done 2 or 3 of them now, and they make $65,000, $75,000 every time we do it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can give back to Folds, and obviously your charity. So whatever people can do, whether it's Patriot Golf Day, host an event at your club, or just kind of learn more about Folds of Honor and share that story with people, and wear the flag. And if you haven't already done it, go to Folds of Honor, check out the story that Dan Rooney tells and that Major Ed tells. It's worth it. It just makes you feel better.
Who are friends of ours, by the way.
Yeah, great guys.
Major and Dan Rooney. I remember 5 years ago at our Folds of Honor tournament out in Palm Springs, Dan Rooney's looking around for you.
Yeah, well.
Where's Lohman? Lohman? They played golf together against each other in college, so that was pretty cool to see.
That was pretty neat.
Yeah, and Major Ed, we love you, man. You're awesome.
Freedom isn't free, my friends. Freedom is not free.
Well, I know the captain's probably very proud of what you've done for the Folds, and I know I am. I think, you're being modest over here. I think you've had a lot of events at your place and raised a ton of money for the Folds, really single-handedly, so it's very impressive work there. You were at the cutting edge of social media back in the day. You and your twin brother, Chris, made a VHS golf instruction video that you made but 20 years ago, right?
Yeah,
The dawn of
23. 22 years ago, or I like to say 80 pounds ago. It's scary.
Right, and you continue with the Monarch Minute, but yeah, cutting edge with the
video.
Social media. That was when I saw that, man, that was very impressive. How many units did you sell, like through classified advertising or however they sold it back then?
We were lucky. My brother was the golf coach with Odie at the University of Washington, and he was saddled with the golf schools for the university. So my brother, I needed to make some ends meet after school or in summer and after I graduated, and Chris said, let's come up and you can help teach, and he paid me to come teach at his golf school. So Chris and I are up there with other students, other pros teaching, and this guy kind of walked by and he saw Chris and I, who were twins, identical twins, teaching, and we're engaged and we're helping these kids have a good time. The guy, he had a background in entertainment. He was a writer, like on TV shows, and had done some stand-up comedy on like some of, like Letterman or, Leno, whatever was cool back in those days. I guess it's probably even before that would have been the other people. And he said, I'll get some financing, we'll put this together and we'll make a video. And it worked out. The guy had the money, he had the backing. We made a great video that was, I think they sold probably 30,000 units. Maybe even
awesome.
5 or 6 years ago, you could have still found it on Amazon, and they had it at Roger Dunn's here in Santa Ana for many years. And, I think I got a VHS somewhere in the garage, and
just
my
to
brother,
play that.
I think about once a year we'll put it in there just to see it, and it kind of scares us a little bit to watch it. But it turned out okay, and we were very fortunate. I bought my first nice car. It helped me pay for that, so that was pretty cool. Yeah,
I thought that was impressive. And tell us about the Monarch Minute.
They came up with this idea. Let's make these vignettes, like 1 or 2 minute vignettes that we introduce every Monday. So it's the Monday Mulligan. We have them at a lot of our properties, but at Monarch we do it. I'm not always on it. It's me 95% of the time, but Jackie Regal gets on those, Seth Glasgow, Sean Laney, some of our other instructors, Brandon Delgado, our director of golf, Eric Joyne, our head pro. So we've all kind of taken turns. I get the majority share of them, and that's pretty neat. We get about 5,000 people watch those when they come out. We pay for a little advertising to kind of boost the reach, but I'll tell you, at first I thought it was kind of funny, and I did it just to sort of do it, and I enjoyed kind of watching them to see if I could pull it off again. And then now that when you're kind of at the club and people come up and recognize you and say, hey, I watched that, and I don't know that person, and they're watching me on this thing, and I enjoy that, and I use that, and it works. And it's like, wow, it's kind of a neat way to positively impact our fellow golfers' lives. And then, we have people emailing me saying that what they'd like me to work on because they have a hard time with it, and I'll do that, and they'll thank me for it. And so I think we're going to keep doing it. And again, I recommend that everybody dabbles in that as much as they can, gets comfortable around that.
Right.
Each Monday morning about 8:30, I got 5,000 people, checking us out. And that's pretty neat, I think. So.
I'm very impressed with that, I tell you, and I dabble in social media too, just a little
bit. You're the king, brother. You're the king. Look at us. We're here for you. Who are we really here for?
That's the whole thing behind the Fascinating Five, is that we have such fascinating people in our section. Allison Kurt was the first one.
Good doctor.
Sean Cox, you. We're going with Robin Shelton, Larry Brotherton. I got Len Canet coming down the pipe.
Yep.
So Southern California is stuffed with fascinating people, and you're definitely one of them. I got to ask you a couple more questions here. Will UCLA football ever be good again?
Well, I wanted to come out with the jersey on just so I could show Tuna and the other, the blowhards, Pardsy and Gormley and everybody. I mean, all the USC, the toe jams out there. This is our year. I mean, I was at the Rose Bowl on Saturday with the kids and Lauren, my wife, and obviously it's been a horrible run for UCLA football. We do have I think we have a good plan in place. I like Jim Mora. I thought we were going to kind of get over this hump, and then we kind of went back down again. And so unfortunately, Coach Mora had to be relieved of his duties. And Chip Kelly, I think, is going to be a good hire. And we won 3 times this year, so that's not a win. But we beat USC, which is a big thing for me in our neighborhood here in Newport Beach. We got Stanford this weekend, but I feel good. I feel like to be a Bruin, again, I'm a Bruin golfer. We care about softball and volleyball and swimming and gymnastics and soccer. And think about all the great sports at UCLA. When I was there, we had just had a plethora of awesome Olympic type athletes and world beaters, baseball players, and everybody you can think of. So it's not just football for me. It's about the university, and it's about it's the experience. They gave it to me, and I'm giving it back there as well. So,
your favorite golf tip? We talked about this once before, I remember, and it made such an impression on me. Your favorite golf tip that we discussed a while ago was about expectations.
Yeah, I think it's easy. Yeah, it'd be simple for me to tell you that I think the grip is important, or posture, or a variety of some of those fundamentals or getting a swing plane and all that neat stuff that people like to talk about. But I like to go backwards to the more simpler version of things. Harvey Penick, he came out with his book, and the way he kind of taught Kite and Crenshaw, and he kept it very simple, kind of that Southern hospitality kind of way. You'll never make it if you don't get to the hole, these types of things, or if you want to hit it left, aim right. Just very basic little things. I kind of draw from my own experience that a lot of the students that I teach, I'm not like Jamie Mulligan and some of the guys who are teaching some of the better players. I'm teaching our resort guests, some of our members, some of our card holders, and these people just want to enjoy the game more, or trying to reintroduce companies, their clients, and some of their sales associates into the game. So I'm teaching more of a beginner to the intermediate level type of player. So a lot of it I teach is realistic expectations, and I think I got that from Fran Pirzolo, Dr. Fran Pirzolo out at Houston. We talked a lot about having realistic expectations. You're going to get out of the game what you put forth. The more effort you give, the right effort you give will produce the right way for you. You can't control the outcome. You can only control the effort and the execution. So when I talk to my students about realistic expectations, it's really just setting, to that day to day, if you're new to the game, don't expect to be perfect at it. If you just practice a little bit, don't expect to take this lesson to the next level unless you can practice and play enough to apply those principles. And again, we see type A people, they struggle with being patient. They want to be perfect right away. You see good players who fail and struggle with the failure side of things. Well, the quicker you can learn that failure will become more of the average and more of the norm than success, I think the easier that dinner tastes a little bit better, and you can get over those shortfalls that much more quicker. So take the lesson, apply it, have realistic expectations, and enjoy the fruits of your labor, because you will taste success if you try hard enough and you apply it the right way.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, buddy.
Mr. Lohman, I appreciate it as always. Beautiful house, beautiful family.
You. Thank you so much. Glad to be here, and the millions at home, support your PGA professional.
Everybody, I give you Mr. Eric Lohman.